welcome everyone to another broadcast of The Soul of the Everyman on the Alan Thomas Company. That was my printing business about 20 years ago on the ArtistFirst radio network. All past shows are podcasts. You can find them at ArtistFirst.com. We request your comments by email, dj@ArtistFirst.com. Now out to the pair, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Alan Thomas Printing Company. How can we help you? God? Are you okay? I'd like to be part of the Alan Thomas something.
Okay.
weren't they a band? Was that the Otis Redding project? I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, we're in fine form tonight, folks.
He started it.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And she's Margaret. And tonight is a part 2. We sometimes do part 2 shows when we don't get through the topic from part 1. So part 1 was last week. And to summarize it, we were talking about, in essence, succinctly, there's a voice in your head that's talking all the time, and we talked a little bit about that. And then there's, there's this concept of who is it talking to, who's listening, and we talked a little bit about that. And at the end of that discussion, we understood that the listener is the real you. And then I think I'm not sure when it was last week, I was driving and it came to me that in essence the listener, who is the real you, is a partition, a segment, a fragment, a unique individual, of course, but is connected and of source of the one consciousness. And so, the sort of the image that came to me, and I thought it was something when I told you thought it was fun, is that in essence, you, the aspect of the universal, the aspect of God that is in you, is listening to all of your complaints and your fears and your concerns and your judgments and your likes and your dislikes that come from your ego and from your emotions, ever listening, and in essence a conduit into the all. And there you have the an example of how the universe, in essence, the universal consciousness, is able to hear all of us, because it's all inside of us, connected back to source. And I thought that was such an interesting concept that we decided to have part 2. Part 2.
Yes.
Because there's some amazing sort of takeaways from that. It's sort of a tautology to say that we are all pieces of the one source, because the reason it seems so obvious is that we feel it at a visceral level. We know that we're not just matter. We know we're not just our thoughts. We know we're not just our emotions or our bodies. You once, many times really, but have given the definition of body, soul, and spirit, and it might be a good idea to re-present that perhaps at this context.
Redefine it?
Yeah.
Okay. Your body is the visceral, corporeal part of you, this part that touches and interacts with the world, and you use your 5 senses for that. And the body itself is part of you. It has requirements, it has needs that you must take care of, otherwise it will not exist and you will not be here. Just that thought alone is, if you don't take care of your body, you will not be here. And then you have the soul, which is the part of you that puts together the thinking and the feeling, as well as your will, the choosing of what you will do in this moment. And then spirit, which is your eternal connection, a part of you that never dies and is connected to all and throughout all eternity. So it's limitless. And it's the phrase that comes from the Bible is your body is the temple or your spirit. And understanding that this is part of the triune person that you are. And it is just as important. I know a lot of people basically want to denigrate the body. They say you have to discipline it. They deny it, and just sort of throw it aside. But it's understanding that without this vehicle, you will not learn. You will only be too happy to be just as you are without learning anything. And when I say learn, it means that understanding who you are, not in a mental way, but in a whole, complete, ever-expanding way. I always think of it in terms of, how we say evolution. And people get a little crazy when you're saying, oh, God evolves. Or it's the concept of God evolves for us. God is, has been, and always will be. But we are that which changes and evolves. And if you can embrace that, it's a marvelous thing. Because it's something that you have that you can contribute to the greater.
Through that connection. I mean, I wanted to go back and make sure, that the idea of a temple, when you say the body is a temple, people think of it, there it is. It's full of haunted Mayan spirits, like a temple like that. No, the temple, the reason the biblical language says the temple was the physical container or manifestation point for God upon earth. And so, again, you have to look at the Bible in many different aspects. And one of them is that the aspect of man made from earth, men and women made from earth, yet containing a spark of the divine, made in my own image. My own image doesn't mean God looked in the mirror and said, oh yeah, got my eyes. No, my own image in the sense of connection back to source and connection back to the all, but yet incorporated, incarnated as the temple in the Judeo-Christian or Judeo aspect of what the temple was. It was the place where you went to meet God. It was a sacred space which was supposed to contain a way of communicating directly, to contain the essence. So that's your body. And I love when you also said, the body here, we're here to learn, because here we have limitations, and we don't know everything at once. We are bound in time. We're bound in space. We're bound in the ability to perceive, yet consciousness encompasses all of those things, and becoming aware, and then becoming aware of becoming conscious, as Tole says, conscious of being conscious, and Turtle's all the way down, conscious of being conscious, aware of being aware of that voice which speaks to the consciousness all the time, which is the ego, and aware that you are listening to it, that you I hesitate to say obligated, but you an aspect of you, the ego is I think Tolle also says it's a necessary beginning. You have to have that voice in the beginning, as that dialogue helps you to understand that it is a separate piece, that it is just a piece. That as you expand your awareness, you understand that the body is just a piece, a very important, but yet just a piece. And you said also about how people want to deny the body, because many philosophies have said, well, all sin comes through the body, or all distraction comes through the body, or the body has to be disciplined in order to purify the mind and all. But these are, as you said it just a moment ago, these are our ever evolving concepts of how to get to the state of a spacious consciousness. And I think where we are right now, and it's always easy to say this, but I think that the evidence is too strong now. Where we are right now is at a sort of a transition point where the evolution of the collective consciousness, the awareness, the spaciousness is now beyond the body. It's beyond the mind. It's starting to pervade the society as a whole, but it really matters as the individuals collectively start to understand that, yes, there is an ego. It talks all the time. It just won't shut up no matter what I do, but yet there are spaces in between. It runs out of breath once in a while, and then there's still, right? There's still a you. And there are the emotions. There is the body. There's all the things that are there, but yet you can put your awareness into the body and take it out. You can have the mind speak, and then there's a silence. You can have emotions rise and fall, and you become aware, ever expanding awareness puts these things in their place. You don't have to, and you can't, get rid of the body, because then you don't have a corporeal existence. You can't make it so it's all just the mind, or all just the emotions, or follow hedonism, or whatever it is. You understand that, but all these things are there, are necessary, are part of you. But then there's the rest of you. There is you. And then you start to think, and this is where we are with this show, where did I come from? Where does the you, I am, where does the I am come from? We didn't, you as a unique individual, and me and everyone else in the world, but just you and me, as unique individuals, have a beautiful separation, a beautiful, unique viewpoint, our own universes that we carry around with us, within us. But yet we know, and all of us know, that at some level we're completely, totally connected. We know it because there is a meeting of consciousnesses at the level of that relationship. You look to the other and say, that's not, it is another person, it is another individual, but it's also me. You see through the eyes of the other. You see that your consciousness and the other's consciousness are inextricably joined.
This is true. The connection is almost primal. Something so natural that you can't imagine it being any other way. Then you begin to get introduced to a whole bunch of different concepts that tell you all sorts of things. So yes, to be able to begin to understand what it is that is happening within you, how your focus affects your perceptions as well as your choices. And the whole, how do I say this? To allow yourself to incorporate all these aspects without everything getting into a slap fight with one another is key.
And you mean the internal slap fight?
Yes, I do. There's always an argument going on who wants to be in charge. You really find out how bossy you are when you listen to all of that.
Yes. The body has its own voice, trying to be in charge. The mind certainly has multiple voices and will try in the most subtle ways to assert itself. Even when you say, "Oh, I'm so enlightened. No one else is enlightened as me." There's the mind,
right,
telling you how enlightened you are.
I'm just wonderful.
I'm so wonderful.
In the meantime, the body's sitting there going, "I'm hungry. I'm sleepy."
Sleepy. You can't deny the body. As you mentioned, those who try to deny the body ultimately fail, because there is a certain amount of discipline that of the body that will provide you a vehicle to understand the separation, as well as a way of pushing back the boundaries, coming to the end of yourself, coming to the end of your corporeal self, and realizing that it is not the end. So you see many disciplines like that, Buddhism and Hinduism and so on. And Buddhism also tries to discipline the mind and quiet the mind. So discipline the body, discipline the mind. Because what's happened, you silence the mind, you've disciplined the body, but yeah, there you are. Who's doing it all? And so you become aware, conscious of being conscious, of having the ability to exist and encompass all these things.
Well, having the ability to choose, it doesn't reside with the body or the emotions or the mental faculties. You may give over to any one of those elements to make a decision, but it's still you. You're the one that's got to choose. And when you realize that you're in charge of that, it puts everything else into place. Because everything else is going to tell you, well, this is really important. We need to tend to it now. And you have to sit there and realize that they can't do anything unless I choose them.
Very true. That's really an excellent point. All of those aspects want to drive the bus. And yet, and you can let them drive the bus, and it'll appear that they're in charge. But yet you must will or defer or allow, because any one of them at any moment knows or is under the subject of the you, the actual you, the consciousness you, who can maybe not easily, but I think it is easy, because a true aspect of will is it's indomitable. Will is an absolute thing.
And everything around you is trying to take away the power that you have. It's trying to convince you that you are weak. You are weak-willed. You can't choose. Let me show you how it's done. But you still have to choose the thing that's trying to convince you that I'm going to show you how it's done. Like, well, if you don't choose it, it just stands there and goes, but. And you can actually put that on the shelf and say later.
Yes, so the individual aspects, exactly that, they wish to convince you that you don't have will. Right. The point is that they have to convince you. Again, the mind speaking needs a listener. It needs you, the actual you, far more than the consciousness needs the mind. Again, the mind needs to convince you. The body needs to convince you. Who's the you that's being convinced? You know, if the body didn't need to convince anybody, it would be in charge, because the one who is in charge never needs to be convinced. They just do. The mind, again, would run amok with its mentalness, and the body would run amok with its desires and needs.
And we know people who've run amok with their emotions, and it's always a mess.
Right, but in all cases, even with the emotion, there's, I think the Dalai Lama was one of the proponents of this, but not the first. You know, he would say, even with the unbidden, reflexive, reactionary emotions like anger and so on, fear, if you train yourself to be observant, you can see that there's a moment, always that moment of now between perception and decision and action. There is the moment of choosing. And what is that really, Margaret?
It's a powerful moment where you can express who you are right in the moment of now. And you claim that moment as yours. And then you choose.
Yes. What I was going to add, though, there is, and we've said this many times, the universe that we happen to be in is something which has a past, which is immutable, and a future which is unknowable. And it does not exist except in the moment of now. And in the moment of now, it requires at a quantum physical level an observer to choose what the next moment of now will be. And that's the power. That's the ultimate power. The ultimate power that your will wishes to take away from you, or not will, sorry, your mind wishes to take away from you, your body wishes to subvert, and without the observer choosing the now, none of it exists.
Correct. The past is it's just a dream, just as the future is a dream. All that is real is this moment right now. So the choosing is where the truth of who you are lay.
Yes. And the other aspect, remember, each one of us being an aspect of the eternal consciousness. We're all choosing, yes, everyone's choosing different things. Yes. But the universe is a very, very big place. And the collective choosing of the moment of now, what do we all share? No one of us has a different moment of now. We all have one moment. And there are, let's say, infinite, it's not, but let's say it's infinite number of choices need to be made, but all of them are made. Amazingly, the infinite number of choices are made at the exact same moment of now. Every moment of now. You see, the mind wants to say, well, I have my own this and this, and I'm thinking about this and they're thinking about that. Yes, all that's true. Yes, it's all true. But each moment of now is shared by the universe. And all consciousnesses are one, but let's say all consciousnesses share one thing. Now. And all the infinite number of choices which are made in that moment of now are tied back through you to source, to the one observer of that moment of now. There is one moment and there's one observer.
Yes. To engage in this moment is the reality of your existence. And if you embrace that, this is real, this moment, then your world opens up and you can see all the possibilities. But you must train yourself to be able to embrace that half second before you make your decision. Because many times the decisions we make are automatic.
Unconscious.
We always do it this way, or we always take a step that way, or this is what we always choose. It's like, no, to make a conscious choice is to stop. You take a breath and ground in this moment and look around and say, these are my choices. And the interesting thing is when you are surrounded by people or there's an event or something's going on, they're going to want to push you to what you've always done, the decision that you've always made. And you have to be conscious enough to stop in that moment and say, one moment, which is the truth. It's one moment. And hold it. And then choose. But choose this time with all of you. I always say choose with what your heart is saying this is true. Don't choose something that is not true. In other words, doesn't resonate with you. And that's kind of confusing for some people, but it's something that is worth cultivating, knowing the truth of what your heart is saying.
Yeah, I like the beginning that you just said, which is that moment, one moment, you may train yourself to be aware of now. And you will find something interesting, maybe initially strange. When you ask for a moment, you get it. You get a moment to make a choice. And that moment, you say, well, how can you stop time? It's going, no. When you ask consciousness for the moment, in one way time stops.
Well,
because you have that moment.
The perception feels like suddenly time slows down.
Yes.
That's an aspect of that whole process.
So the observer, there's Margaret just said it, but there's really three things. We talked about triune persons. There's three things. Something happens, whatever it may be. It must be observed. So you have the moment to observe it, and then you have the third moment, which is you choose. If you do things, as you just said, automatically, without thinking, as we've always done it this way, it seems like it just goes like this, because you're not conscious at that moment. You are just going along. You're living in the future or the past. You're not now, you're not here. When you're here, when you're now, when you train yourself to be in the moment becomes almost endless, and it becomes an interesting way of looking, and you say, you have so much in you that can observe, that your ability to absorb that information and make a decision, you'll be astounded at how infinite it seems to be. Once you pay attention to the moment of now, you realize that you really are vast, powerful, infinitely aware, to the extent that you allow yourself to be aware that you're aware.
Okay.
Well, I'm aware. We have to go back to the studio for some commercials, but take this moment to pay attention to them. We'll see you on the other side.
The Fat Man Gets Out of Bed is the latest book from Michael Lyons, the award-winning author of There is a Reaper. Featuring 13 original stories, this wide-ranging collection has everything. Forbidden love, gods versus demigods, weird invading aliens, sexy seductive artificial intelligence, and unusual passion between the living and the dead. All set amidst fantastic worlds of pain and loss and boundless joy. From the sublime to the macabre to the bittersweet, the Fat Man Gets Out of Bed will leave you breathless with laughter, brimming with tears, trembling with suspense. Available now on Amazon.com, Google Play, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. Rick Riordan fans, love mythology with plenty of action and humor? Destroyer's Blood is for you. The new fantasy novel by award-winning author Michael Lynes is book 1 of the adventures of Dev Kalian, the Blood series. Follow Dev and his magic sword betrayer as they are suddenly attacked and forced to return to Olympus to fight in a war they want no part in. The world of men and gods is about to be destroyed by Zeus's ancient foe, and only Dev and Trey can stop him. The conflict never stops, and the amazing twist will have you on the edge of your seat. Act now while the ebook is on sale for only 99 cents. Destroyer's Blood is available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Kobo, and fine e-tailers everywhere. And while you're there, get the free prequel, It's in the Blood, available for a limited time. Moonstones and Murder. Real murderers need a heart of stone. Meet Maggie and Mike Heartstone, parents of twin boys, entrepreneurs, and now empty nesters. Mike is retired, not by choice, from his position as chief of police in the picturesque resort town of Hamilton. And now his wife Maggie and her shop, the Cozy Crystal, are their only source of income. When a mysterious killing interrupts Hamilton's famous Springfield Park rock show, the townsfolk, the Cozy Crystal, and their lives are rocked to the core. Can Mike and Maggie figure out who is behind the murderous deeds before the town comes crashing down around them? A touch of romance, a little mayhem, and a whole lot of suspense, along with plenty of comedy and thrills galore. Get your crystal magnifying glass out. It's time for some Moonstones and Murder. Available on Amazon, Apple, Kobo, and other fine e-tailers in ebook and paperback. Out soon on Audible. Get your copy today.
There is a Reaper is the story of 5-year-old Christopher Aaron and his life-changing struggle with leukemia. Winner of both the Indie Brag Medallion as well as the reader's favorite silver medal for memoir, There is a Reaper has more than 100 Amazon book reviews and a 5-star rating. It has been described as life-changing, spiritual, a must-read. Just released on Audible and iTunes, this memoir is also available in paperback and on Amazon Kindle for only 99 cents. Get your copy of this life-changing memoir today.
The wait is over. First Blood, Book 2 of the Blood series is out. Your favorite bad boy thief Dev is back, and the beautiful and deadly Trey is right there with him. She is sharp, sexy, and full of surprises. Their adventures continue as a new power arises to threaten the world. The heart of creation is under attack, and time is definitely not on their side as they battle against their enemies' undead hordes. Can they unlock the hidden power that can defeat him, or will his forces draw first blood? Get all 3 installments in the series. Book 0, It's in the Blood. Book 1, Destroyer's Blood, and the new release, Book 2, First Blood, today. Available in ebook and paperback format on Amazon, Kobo, Apple, and most other fine e-tailers.
Hello, this is Highway 59 recording artist Randy Moore, and you are listening to the ArtistFirst Radio Network.
listening to The Soul of the Everyman on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are podcasts. Back to your hosts, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
And thank you very much, Z-Man. And tonight is a part 2. Part 2 from last week, where we were talking about, observing, being the observer, being the you, which is the observer. And then this show really has been exploring the nature of you, what you and I and Margaret and everybody, what we really are. And what we really are is far from what we think we are. Truly very far from what we think we are. And that's kind of the point, isn't it, Ma?
Well, I always said that you're so much more than what you think. Your thinking is limited, but people want to use that tool of thinking because they sit there and, well, how am I going to know anything? It's like you can learn by more than thinking at something. Experiencing what it is and what's unfolding in front of you is amazing. It's kind of like the difference, how now everyone's talking about the James Webb, and it's got this full range of abilities of different frequencies that it's able to read. And then Hubble, and we all loved Hubble with all the pictures it was producing. Now, if you see the James Webb, it's like suddenly we've leveled up completely. And you could see through a lot of the dust clouds because of the different wavelengths that are able to penetrate through the dust cloud. And you're just like, this is wonderful. But now we have a new tool that we're going to have to figure out how to use.
Yeah.
And it's the same with your consciousness.
Yeah.
When you realize that it's not just what's in front of you, but there are levels of perception past the dust cloud. And you have the capability within you to begin to perceive it, but it's trying, you yourself must choose that experience.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy because, the tool, the James Webb Space Telescope, which is what we're talking about, the tool is, a creation of the mind. It's something physical. It exists at a point in space. But what does it do for us? It gives the you, let's say that the observer is able to take in and realize that this tool has brought it a new fount of information. The tool is not the source of the information. The tool is the mechanism by which, just as your body is not the source of the information, your mind is not the source of the information. There is the unknowable future. There is the moment of now, and then there's the interface, the mind, the body, the physicality, the tools. And they all, in various ways, talk to you, the mind incessantly talking to you. But it's you. You are the observer. You are having the experience through the tools, through the body, through the mind, through the James Webb Space Telescope. Yet, without the observer, none of it matters. The telescope could sit there till the end of time. Without an observer, it's not just useless, it's pointless. The universe itself, without an observer, is kind of pointless. Why? Actually, there's even no one to ask why. The universe without an observer might as well have remained at whatever state it was when it first began, or whatever that was, because now that James Webb is kind of freaking people out anymore.
Yeah.
But that doesn't feel it matters.
That's a whole nother episode.
But it matters so little, because without the observer, in fact, the whole idea of mattering, because we don't ever think about it this way, mattering only matters if there is an observer. Something has to care. Your mind doesn't care. Your body doesn't really care. You are the thing that observes, that chooses, that cares.
Well, you who you are at your core observes and chooses. The level by which the body cares is strictly for maintenance and the needs that it wants. The emotional body cares in terms of being able to express what's flowing through it. And the mental part of you cares that it wants to speak and explain everything. But those are aspects of the flow of the being that you are. And if you can embrace that, you understand that your job is almost like a balancing act, like a surfer on a wave. You must find that point where you are continuing along that pipeline without being subsumed by the wave. The events that are happening are flowing, regardless of whether you're on the wave or not. But you want to experience that pipeline. So you must bring all of you together to make decisions moment by moment to carry yourself through. And that's pretty much the description of what your life is down here.
And the moment of now is the experience of being on the wave, sensing all of it, the wave, let's say the whole scene, the water, the sparkle of the sun, the sky above you, the feel of the wind in your face, every piece of that, which are physicalities, but every piece of that, the whole experience, all the thoughts you're having about it, all the emotions you may be having about it, and then the totality of the experience all resides within the consciousness. You're conscious of it. You're aware of being aware. And myself, standing on the shore, looking at the surfer in the wave, and being in the moment of observing the surfer, being in the moment, there's a connection. You know it. When you watch the other doing something perfectly, being in the moment, you too can be right there with them in the moment of their being in the moment. Why? Because we're all connected at that level. In the moment of observation of the surfer, in the moment of surfing the wave, the connection is visceral. If you are in the totality, the surfer and the moment that the surfer is experiencing are within your totality also. You're connected all the way back. This is just an example of observing someone doing something like that. But yet we feel that. And then you bring that back where? All of that, all the countless acts of decision, of perception, decision, of will, of experience, connect all of us back to that vast, eternal consciousness, the observer of all things, all of our thoughts, all of our emotions, all of our likes and dislikes, everything that's going on in your life, it's all going back up and being listened to, being contained, being observed.
Yes, that's an interesting point. When you are observing another doing something, it could be strenuous or striving to complete a task difficult for that person. And it could be small children, and they're, oh, very good, you did this. Or you're watching, like in the Olympics when they're trying to break a record. Or something simple like a Ninja Warrior show, and they're trying to hang on to something and not fall off. You're just like, you can do it. You're there.
You're there.
You're sending support. A lot of people say you're sending positivity to them. You're sending support because you understand that this being is exerting effort, and all of us have exerted effort doing some difficult tasks. So you're just like, yes.
And you feel connected to them in the way that they're in the purity of their totality of existence in that moment. You feel instantly connected to them. Why? They're not you. It could be an image on the screen. You can be watching a recording, but something done there. What is it? It appeals. And people say, oh, "That's beautiful."
Mm.
The beauty of it is in its total awareness of consciousness, of decision, of will, of the moment of now, and it connects to your moment of now, and you realize we're connected. That being in its totality is me, and I am them. And the I am holds both of us, or all of us, and you can see the beauty of it in the purity of the moment of now, whether it's, a physical thing, someone doing an incredible dance move, someone coming up with an amazing story, or something coming up with a beautiful expression, a painting, a movement,
an incredible song being sung that hits right into your heart. Just in general, music will hit you that way. It encompasses all of you, and you know when someone has touched your heart when it comes to whether it's lyrics or the music itself or a combination of both. But that is who we are. This is our humanity. To be able to harmonize, to vibe, resonate with another person, and you know that feeling. And when it's unexpected, or whoever, say it's a singer, winds up singing something, and you could see the entire audience, and just the person next to you just look at each other like, wow.
And there's no barriers at that moment of now. You're not looking at the other. You're looking at you. You're looking at another aspect of you, the great you.
Right. What it has done is it has made obvious the connection one person on stage has with everyone that's listening. It's everyone that's listening. It's not just the people in the room. So that is truly an amazing thing that we as humans can do.
And it's trans-time. You can look at someone, and the actual moment that it occurred is not now. But the aspect of now has no time, truly. And if they're totally in the moment of now, and you observe in another moment of now, it doesn't matter. You feel the same connection as though you had been in that moment of now. Why? Because they're all the same moment of now. The moment of now is all moments.
See, the moment of now is the experience. And the experience is real, regardless of whether or not you're watching a video or a recording of something that was sung before. And that is truly an amazing thing, that we are able to share moments of now as long as it touches your heart. Then we hit the point of eternal.
Right.
You will always come back to that eternal moment and experience the wonder, the love, the sadness, the revelation that your spirit and your soul are resonating with. That's who we are. That's where we need to reside, in those ever-present moments.
And there's another way of looking at it too. If you're in this moment of now, you are connected to all other moments of now. And to the extent that this moment of now connects to those other moments, you can feel it. You know, people say when they're in the moment of now that they feel it's timeless, and they feel as though they are just being carried, that it's all just perfectly doing exactly what it needs to do. It's the perfect moment. It is very few words. It's hard to describe, but you know when you're in it, you're in the zone, right? People call it the zone. Because in that moment, not only are you in the eternal moment, but all the other times, maybe in the far past or future, the ones who are connected to that same moment of now in observation are connected at the moment that you're in the moment. Because these things are, there's no time. So in one way, this eternal moment touches all other moments in time.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the original. There is only the moment of now. There is not other moments of now. There are eternal moments, but there is only one moment of now.
Right.
And you may touch eternity through those moments. So when the frequency, when the experience goes straight to the heart, you go trans-time.
Exactly.
And you return to the moment of now, which is the moment of creation.
Exactly. And you can identify it, you can feel it, you may not have the words for it, but you know when you're there. And in fact, you can always be there. And you are in many ways always there. You're just not aware. You're not putting yourself into the moment of now, true moment of now. But when you do, every time you do, you can feel it. You touch back to creation, touch back to the origin, touch back to source.
Yes. And that is our state. That is the natural state of who we are. We are born into it, and then we get distracted by many things of this world.
Yeah.
But that is what we are called to be able to cut through all the mire of this world and return back to that state, but aware now of the mire and capable of taking steps around it, through it, managing it, whatever you want to call it, but maintaining the state of your heart in that trueness. And that takes a willingness. You must choose at that point that that which is eternal matters to you. Because everyone wants to defer to all the random things that are happening in your life, the concerns and the worries. But when you understand how eternity is in you, that must become a priority and nothing else. And most people are afraid of that.
I think that there's an aspect of them which tells them they're afraid of it. But the true you is never afraid of the moment of now.
The consciousness point, if you are aware that this is the choice, if you really stop the moment, and you take the moment and evaluate it, you realize this choice allows me to reach up towards eternity. But this choice will bring me back down to the mundane. Where do I want to reside? Am I happier in the minutiae of what my life is?
Yeah, you know what we did the whole time? We never got to the quote.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to retell his quote because it is very germane at this point. This was a part 2, of course. So we picked this, and this will go up on the website. But each individual is an expression of the collective consciousness of humanity, and the collective consciousness of humanity is an expression of the one universal consciousness. And as we said before, and what Margaret just said now, we get to choose that. It is us. You know, you can't escape the fact that you are part of this one universal consciousness, because that's where you actually come from, where we all actually come from, why we can do this, why we have this power. And the universe without the one universal consciousness is not just useless, it's pointless. It doesn't need, it can't, it doesn't want, there's nothing that makes the universe exist except consciousness. Consciousness makes the universe, not the other way around. There's many who would like to say, well, the consciousness arises from this and arises from that, but no one has yet and cannot put their finger on, here's the consciousness, just pick it up and there, put it over here, put it in a jar. No, because it's truly beyond all physicality, all mental understanding.
What I find fascinating is the ones that want to define consciousness. You know, they're debating over all these things, and they're like, "Oh, we really don't know what it is," or we know. But at the same time, you are observing and weighing what you think consciousness is. But you are already there.
Yeah. The problem with trying to define consciousness is you're doing it from an aspect of consciousness. Mm-hmm. It's very similar, and people have made the analogy of a fish trying to define water. You know, yes, but you don't know you're wet.
Surrounded by it. But yes. What is this stuff? What is this stuff?
Yeah. We are wet in consciousness. We are soaking in it. We are it, and therefore, definition is a mental aspect which requires a referent and a reference. And you can't get to consciousness without being totally self-referential. And that's really the problem with trying to define consciousness. The box is too small. Mm-hmm. You can't put a definition around that which the I am who am is the closest thing that anyone's ever come, and people look at it and go, what does that mean? Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the point. What does that mean? Yep. I think we've reached the end of our conscious moment here, though, Mas. You want to take us away?
Oh?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm Margaret.
And I'm Michael.
And thank you for listening.